Hey guys, it's Squiddyvon. Welcome back to .GameTV. Bethesda finally released some new Starfield information this week when they revealed a timeline describing the history of the Starfield game world. So in this video, we're going to go through all of this new information to get a better idea of what the Starfield story and lore will have to offer. Quick reminder, if you are interested in more Starfield videos, updates, information, and gameplay, you're in the right place. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you do enjoy my videos, be sure to drop a like. Okay, so let's get started. So, the story so far. The story starts in the year 2050. Humans first arrive on Mars, and by the year 2100, humans are living in space. This timeline does seem a little ambitious for humans living in space by 2100 and even hitting Mars by 2050, but I think these dates are at least conceivable and allow the universe to remain a little bit more grounded in reality. So next in 2156, humans arrive in Alpha Centauri, 4.37 light-years away from Earth. Next in 2159, the United Colonies are established. The United Colonies, or the UC, are one of the game's major factions, and we'll be hearing more about the other factions later in this timeline. Then in 2160, New Atlantis is founded and becomes the official capital city of the United Colonies in 2161. So it's clear to see that New Atlantis and the United Colonies had the initial setup outside of the solar system, and it doesn't look like others joined until 2167, when Cheyenne is settled by Solomon Coe, who founds its first settlement, Aquila City. 21 years later, in 2188, Coe invites Volii to join Cheyenne in a new alliance, the Freestar Collective. The Freestar Collective is officially formed in 2189. So now we have two of the game's major factions, the United Colonies with New Atlantis and the Freestar Collective with Aquila City. In 2194, the United Colonies positions the star station called the Clinic in orbit around Deepala in the Narian system. The unaffiliated peoples of the Narian system see this as a UC attempt to expand their borders and demand the UC remove the Clinic. When the UC refuses, the people of Narian vote to join the Freestar Collective, who mobilize to protect the system in 2195. Just a year later in 2196, in response to Freestar mobilization, the UC moves a fleet into the Narian system and Freestar responds in kind. The Narian War begins. 20 years later, in 2216, the Narian War is still dragging on as public sentiment sours. Finally, the Treaty of Narian is signed by the UC and Freestar Collective in 2216, ending the conflict. The term settled systems is formalized in the treaty. Now that's a term we've heard before from previous developer direct videos, and the settled systems were defined as a little pocket of the galaxy going out about 50 light-years. In 2221, the Freestar Rangers are founded as an elite, protective, and investigative force dedicated to serving all citizens of the Freestar Collective. So it actually sounds like our space cowboys are going to be something more like Navy SEALs. So then in 2275, Constellation is formed by Sebastian Banks. Original members include Chloe Bao, accomplished physicist, Aja Mamasa, the youngest member and Sebastian's protege, Darius Andrus, botanist and specialist in xenoflora, Everardo Gill, former smuggler, and Kadri Toma, biologist and physician. The Lodge is built in New Atlantis to serve the needs of the people of Constellation for generations to come. The Lodge is that cool-looking Constellation headquarters that we've seen previously in other trailers. So that details some of the older history on the timeline of the Starfield universe. But starting in 2305, we start to see some of the characters we're going to be playing with in the game. First we see Barrett joins Constellation, and he apparently seems to be doing pretty well considering he joined Constellation over 25 years before the game is set. Then in 2307, the Freestar Collective begins farming on the planet Vesta in the Lunara system. By 2308, the United Colonies claims that by establishing a colony in a fourth star system, the Freestar Collective has violated the Treaty of Narian. Diplomatic talks break down and the UC lays siege to Vesta, killing anyone who stayed behind, or was brought in, to defend it. The Colony War officially begins. So while the United Colonies and Freestar Collective were never on great terms, it wasn't until the Colony War that everything really blew up. During this hectic time, however, Constellation comes into the possession of their first artifact and tucks it away in the Constellation archives in 2310. These artifacts will form the primary driving force of the main plot of the game, and discovering their purpose will be exactly what we're set out to do. Next, in the year 2311, after several years of conflict, the Colony War effectively comes to an end with the Battle of Cheyenne, as a flotilla of civilian and military Freestar Collective ships take down the major ships of the UC Navy using hit-and-run tactics. In 2315, the UC Vanguard is founded as part of the UC response to the Freestar Collective's use of civilian ships during the Colony War. The Vanguard is the UC's own civilian navy, relying on civilians using their own ships who pledge to protect the United Colonies and its interests. The ultimate reward for this service, citizenship in the United Colonies. Next, in 2319, Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of the UC Navigator Corps, though it's a short-lived position as the division is shut down in 2320. Cast adrift, but still eager to put her training to good use, Morgan joins Constellation. 2 years later, in 2321, Walter Stroud, co-owner of Stroud Eklund, one of the Settled System's premier starship manufacturers, joins Constellation and becomes its primary financial backer. We get another Constellation member in 2322 when former Crimson Fleet pirate Vladimir Saul joins Constellation. In 2325, Sarah Morgan becomes the acting chair of Constellation, and in 2325 also, theologian Matteo Catri joins Constellation. Just a year later, in 2326, Barrett finds the original artifact in the Constellation archives and knows that it must be special. So the artifact was found in 2310, but not really done anything with until 2326, so it had been sitting under everyone's nose for about 16 years. This no doubt led in 2326, after months of correspondence with Sarah Morgan, graduate student and gifted scientist Noel is invited to join Constellation. Then in 2327, Freestar Ranger Sam Coe and his daughter Cora join Constellation. The Coes are likely descendants of Solomon Coe, the founder of the Freestar Collective, so these are pretty big pickups for Constellation. Then in 2328, Andreja joins Constellation, and then also in 2328, Barrett convinces Constellation to purchase Star Station L868 and modify it to become a deep space scanner, nicknamed the Eye. Now we don't know for sure, but I think from these previous shots shown in other Bethesda videos, this is probably the Eye that's being referenced. So it does look like Constellation will have a base both on New Atlantis and in space. And that pretty much takes us to the end of the timeline, to 2330, when our Starfield journeys are set to begin. So overall, I really like the timeline. It shows a good representation of how humans got to where they are and why they're in the conflicts that they're in. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the timeline and all this game lore Bethesda shared with us. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think is the most important piece of Starfield history and what you're looking forward to most when the game comes out in September. That's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. Stay tuned, I'll be back again soon with another Starfield video. This is Squiddyvon, and this is .GameTV.